I know how this sounds. I know it's the kind of thing people either laugh off or share as a creepypasta. But this is not fiction. I am not some LARPing forum troll. I'm a guy who used to spend too much time on the dark web and paid the price for it. I've debated for weeks whether to post this, but I have not slept for more than 2 hours a night since it happened to me. I can't eat properly. I keep my blinds closed and have not turned on my home router since last month. I just need to get this out before I lose my nerve again. I'm not going to pretend like I was some virtuous person. I got into watching unsecured security cameras for dumb reasons on the dark web. Curiosity, boredom, loneliness probably. If you dig around enough on certain onion directories, you can find real-time streams from people who never change their default passwords. You can watch all sorts of mundane places like garage lots, elevators, cash register feeds, dog grooming parlors, laundromats in Taiwan, tattoo shops in Brazil. Most of them were boring as hell. That was kind of the point. Watching a stranger's routine from the outside helped me feel tethered to something. Yes, I know, I sound like a total loser, and that's because I kind of am. It was a habit I picked up during lockdown and just never really dropped. I would scroll feeds while eating or working, but 3 months ago, I found a feed in a directory that didn't seem to belong anywhere. Just a file marked with a string of nonsensical numbers and characters. No name, no metadata, no ping info. The feed was locked to a single angle, a dark corridor in what looked like an underground facility. There were no windows, but there were fluorescent lights coming from above. There were cinder block walls with a heavy steel door at the end. The video quality was rough, slightly delayed, with a grainy green overlay. This is pretty typical for security footage, especially when posted on the dark web from unsecured cameras, but it made it harder to tell where it was taken. What stood out immediately was the sound. Most unsecured feeds are silent. There's no audio from the cameras. This one had audio that was low and distorted, but I could hear faint humming in the background. It could have been machines, maybe. And I also heard something like breathing. It sounded really wet and gross, possibly someone with fucked up lungs. I told myself it was probably a research lab or medical waste facility, but I bookmarked it because it caught my interest in a way that all of the other ones did not. It wasn't every day you catch the cam of somewhere like that, because, obviously, they are a lot more secure. For the next few days, I checked in at around the same time every day. Nothing happened, no movement, no people. Just the same hallway and that unsettling ambient noise. It became a kind of a ritual for me in a sort of weird way. I would eat lunch and leave the stream running in the corner of my monitor while I worked. I guess I was kinda hoping for something out of the ordinary to happen to inject some excitement into my horribly dull life. Then the feed changed. It was around 3:17 p.m. on a Thursday. I remember because that is the exact minute the camera blinked off. Just a flash of static and then came back on. When it returned, the steel door at the end of the hallway was open. A man was standing just inside the doorway, or something like a man anyway. He wasn't dressed for the setting. He didn't have any kind of lab coat on, no kind of uniform or protective gear either. Just his bare skin that was oddly pale, like unbaked dough, and something slung over his shoulder. At first I thought it was a bag or a bundle of trash. Then he dropped it. The sound when it hit the ground made my stomach drop. Before I would watch, but I almost was not watching, if that makes sense. I was staring, but I wasn't really there, not really paying attention. It was more like background noise while I did something else. This really made me focus. It was a person. They were naked, limp, and unconscious. Or maybe dead, but I was hoping with every bone in my body that wasn't the case. The man, let's call him that even though I'm not convinced, dragged the body into the hallway by the hair and left it sprawled under the overhead light. He turned and walked back through the steel door, which shut behind him with a hydraulic hiss. I watched that feed for the next 4 hours straight. I did not get up to piss, eat, or drink. I couldn't, because my eyes were glued to the screen. The body did not move. There was no timestamp on the screen, but my own clock ticked by. I made myself sit there, waiting for someone to come. No one did. I went back to that stream every day for a week. The body never moved. It rotted. I could see it rotting as the time went by, skin bloating and eventually blackening. One day, something had torn a chunk out of the leg when I turned the stream on. Another day, the eye sockets looked hollow. I could not stop watching, even though I wanted to vomit every time I did. Then more bodies appeared. They came in pairs or threes, all dumped in the same spot by different men. These men were always the same, always silent, always expressionless. They all looked similar too. Sometimes the bodies were carried, sometimes they were dragged across the floor with no care. One was still twitching. They all ended up on the concrete under that flickering light. I kept notes. I tried to screenshot the feed, but the website had some kind of DRM protection that prevented any screenshots or screen recording from working. Every time I loaded up OBS, just a blank screen. Every time I took a screenshot, pure black. I even tried grabbing the IP trace for Tor, but it looped me in circles, dumping me at dead nodes and disconnected mirrors. I told myself I would report it, but how do you report something that you cannot prove exists? On a Tuesday, maybe around 2 weeks after the first drop, I saw something worse. The camera angle had shifted slightly. It wasn't by a lot, just a tilt to the left, like someone had touched it. It now captured more of the wall. That is when I saw the markings, scratch marks, dozens of them. There were deep grooves that were uneven, some smeared with what looked like blood. They were clustered near the ground, like someone had tried to crawl away. Above them, someone had written a word, over and over and over. Ears, just that one word. I still have no idea what it means. And then that same day, something looked at the camera. It wasn't human. It had a face, but it was not arranged right. The eyes were horizontal, like they were too far apart, and they did not blink either. The skin was too tight, too smooth, like it had been stretched over a shape that did not quite fit. It walked into frame slowly and crouched beside one of the bodies. It looked up directly into the lens, and it smiled. I don't know if that thing saw me. I don't even want to believe it could. I mean, how could it? But the moment it looked into the lens, I felt something, like a pressure behind my eyes, like someone pressing their thumb into the front of my skull. My nose started to bleed. It had to have been coincidence. I know that they can be caused by stress, so maybe the stress of the situation caused it to happen spontaneously. Maybe I'm just fooling myself. That night, I had the first dream. I was lying on cold concrete. The overhead light was blinding. I couldn't move, but I could hear voices. They weren't speaking, but like thinking in my head. It was hundreds of them, all whispering through my teeth. They were all saying the same thing. You shouldn't have watched. Stupid ass fucking dreams, man. The next morning, my internet was out. When I called my ISP, I was put on hold for nearly 2 hours. I finally got hold of someone who was human, but they mostly just spoke in canned phrases. They told me that my service was suspended for unauthorized activity on restricted bandwidth. I asked what that meant. They just repeated it. When I pushed, the line went dead. They hung up on me. I sat there staring at the call-ended screen for a long time. Fucking assholes. There is no way it's legal for them to suspend me for using Tor browser. There should be no way that they even know what I'm connecting to on there. For all they know, I could just be using mundane forums. My router would not reconnect. I tried all the usual tricks. Reboots, cable swaps, VPN resets, nothing. The admin panel would not even load. It just hung on a white screen. No error, no timeout. I gave it 24 hours. When nothing changed, I bought a prepaid hotspot, just to check if I'd been IP banned or something, I don't know. The hotspot worked fine, so I started using that. I was not happy about being out $90 this month for fucking nothing though. Thanks a lot, Verizon. That night, I opened up Tor to browse the dark web again. I shouldn't have, but I needed to see if that hallway feed was still up. I needed to know if I imagined it or not. If maybe I gaslit myself into thinking it was just corrupted footage and late night paranoia, some leftover dream stress. People do not dump bodies under security cameras. Creatures don't look into lenses and give you nosebleeds. That's fiction. But that hallway feed was gone. The directory still existed, but the link led to a blank screen. No video, no sound, just a single line of white text. Unauthorized observation is punishable. No username, no timestamp. I closed the tab. I didn't sleep that night. That's my story. I once heard a story about a particular video one anon saw. I would very much like to see it for myself, if anyone recognizes the description. Split screen style video. One screen is a mounted fixed camera focused on a girl in a chair with a rope around her neck. Rope goes up to the roof, presumably to a pulley system, then out the window. Over screen is a handheld camera, focused on a guy who is in really bad shape, beat up and dirty. Cameraman tells the guy to shut the fuck up and hits him. Beat up guy looks like he has lost all of the will to live. Cameraman orders him over to a window. Tells him to climb a rope hanging outside the window. Beat up guy complies. The rope around the girl's neck tightens. No more slack. She starts choking and dies in a minute or two. The rope digs in and cuts her throat. Blood everywhere. Cameraman is leaning out the window, pointing the camera at a beat up guy. Cameraman is pretty vocal, capturing the good stuff, as he puts it, and telling the guy to climb slower. Beat up guy is still fairly emotionless, just does what he is told. Then the climax. Rope pulls the girl's head off. The man falls. Doesn't scream, just falls. Falls a few stories to his death. Camera cuts to a white van with black garbage bags in the back. Cameraman mentions a number that is implied to be how many people they've killed. That is the most fucked up dark web video I've ever heard of. I have never told anybody this story. The deep web ruined my life so horribly that starting a new one was imperative to my survival. Let me explain to you why I decided to fake my own death because of what happened to me on the deep web. Look back to when Tor first started and spend a few weeks researching. You might just find an online bulletin/forum/magazine entitled Nazi Science, a gateway to where I found a user by the name of Trapper. I was working IT at the time, and due to the fact that I was on a team for a failing web browser, I had a lot of free time to surf the web, even during work. After finding out about Tor, I got invested, calling in late to work some days, taking days off the next. It got to the point where I had 2 weeks planned vacation and spent every waking hour surfing Tor. I have been damn near all over the normal web before, but this was new and refreshing. I found sites for free games and movies available months before the release. Found a group of underground anarchists who were going to bomb the Sears Tower, but were secretly taken down by the FBI. Even cannibal meetups. Nothing was worse than Nazi science though. A few years in, I stumbled across the site. Now, Nazi science has never been reported on any media because it technically did not exist. Looking it up will not give you any information. Nobody will talk about it due to certain agreements. Nazi science was a group of people who kidnapped healthy patients and tried to do modifications on them. They posted their journals and logs of patient status, pictures of operating rooms ranging from the lab in Human Centipede to an operating room in North Korea, and more importantly, their sadistic experiments. They've tried to do everything from gill implants with videos of the experiment to weapons, pressurized Wolverine claws, gun arms, flamethrower mouth, etc. Truly the worst stuff I have ever seen. Okay, here goes part 2. Trapper was mentioned before, so I will get into what happened with her. Trapper was one of the people who hunted down suitable candidates and put them under anesthetic until they were bought. Then the cycle began anew. Everyone was pretty polite about sharing information of their experiments, including Trapper. She had a log of what she captured, how she did it, and would gladly inform you to get the supplies and skills you needed to catch your own subject. The first time I talked to her, I asked what the fuck anything on the site meant, and I just hoped that it was role-playing. The message she replied with went on to reveal that the site was called Nazi Science in reference to the Nazi scientists and doctors of World War II who tested similar hypotheses on concentration camp captives. It also exposed that certain jargon was to be used in lieu of other words. Before this, I did not understand half of what the users were posting, but afterwards, things were much more clear. She said that she did business anonymously, not knowing the identities of the scientists or the test subjects that she captured. The business was pretty big, consisting of everything from scientists to researchers, fans, fetishists, you name it. Something led to another, and it was busted by the FBI. People were tracked. If you thought Tor was anonymous to the government, you were a fucking idiot. And dozens of arrests were made. From what I know, Trapper escaped the hunt. I noticed what was going on, and bought a body close to mine, swapped the teeth and some blood, then burned the house down. I laundered the money from my account and bought everything in cash, deleting any accounts I had on the way. Seeing as I've been living a pretty safe life for the past few years, I guess I covered my tracks okay. Or they just didn't care enough to find me. Hey, hope you've enjoyed the story so far. If you want to hear more, make sure to subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment because it lets YouTube know you like the content and helps more people to see these videos. My next big goal for the channel is 100,000 subscribers, and as a celebration, I will be doing a Q&A video once we hit that goal. Thank you, and back to the stories. Be me, around 17 or 16 years old in late high school. Needed money because I did not want to work. Knew basics of most hacking. Keyloggers, RATs, etc. Just getting info from people and connecting to people's PCs. Going hacking forums on the deep web via Tor. Neat.png. Learn an abundance of shit I did not know before. One day, the hacking forums were down. It was one of the main ones, forget the name. Go to sketchy Tor directory. Find another one very similar to the one I usually go on, except different threads. Neat. Start going on that. I checked my Tor mail about 3 to 5 days later after chilling with a friend on vacation. One new message. I did not give my Tor mail to no one. Email went along the lines of this. Blah blah, saw you doing things. Blah blah, I need a guy like you. Blah blah, bitcoins. Offer was 5 bitcoins when they were high. Around 132 USD I think. Fuck yeah. Basic shit. Meet the people in charge. About 5 of us. The guy who made that hacking forum website planted an RAT on anybody's PC to see if they knew shit. Set up a Tor site for ourselves, called it Better Than Pirates. The name came since we would steal PayPal accounts, private documents from people, and much more. All was simple and basic. My job was to actually get the info via keylogger, RAT, etc. The keyloggers were a bitch, I hardly ever used them. RATs were my favorite. It is very surprising how many people don't fully shut down their PC before they go to work or go to bed. I would put an RAT file on their PC, basically, and just wait. Literally 8 hours sometimes waiting and discussing with the head honcho and other members about what their job was. I am not going to list the people's names, obviously, so here is what the jobs people had in our group. Second guy was usually the person that made the deals and transfers the bitcoins to our shared account. Third guy was basically the lookout/observer. Fourth guy was the person that took the money, documents, info, whatever, and stored it. Fifth guy was the head honcho and mastermind. I probably had the toughest shit, but best pay. We stole roughly $150,000 out of PayPal accounts, since the majority of them only had $1,000 to $5,000. We would not take more, because PayPal starts giving a shit. We also caused a shit ton of damage, divorces, exposing CEOs, thus the company collapses, and sending people to jail sometimes. Head honcho fucks up one day. Luckily, I get paid before the shit happened. He liked me, since I just did what he said. No questions, nothing. He took the sharing account with over 24 bitcoins, $3,000 at the time. Everybody is fucking pissed as shit. 2 of the people order hitmen on his fucking ass. We all try to fucking find him. His old website is shut down. Eventually, one of them gets into his PC and gets around 126 bitcoins worth, around $20,000. He does this shit every year. We all get a share, $5,000 each. Head honcho emails me again, along the lines of, "You were one of the best people I have ever worked with. Bravo. Unfortunately, I might have to kill you." Nope. Tell him that there is roughly 3 hitmen after him, and he should just get the fuck out of where he lived. Says thanks, and most likely gets the fuck out. Only spoke to one of the people after this time I had. He said guy 4 and 2 are dead. He is 90% sure. Head honcho is still on the run apparently. Every day, I answer my door with my .40 S&W. This is shitty. Oh well, shit happens, you know. In before the story reeks of bullshit. No fucking shit it does. It's like a goddamn movie or something. But meh, believe me if you want. Thanks for reading. Sure, I have one. Downloaded Tor once. Got extremely bored and curious. Dangerous combo.jpg. Paid for a deep web tour for Bitcoin. Sent several links. Warned me to use them in order of the list within 24 hours, as they would likely all disappear and switch onion domains. 4th or 5th one on the list was just a place page. Control+A. Text is black, blends into background. Describes cooking methods. Scroll down and read further. Thigh, feet, fingers, dismemberment. Names of various people, locations, addresses. Closed it. Deleted Tor. Never looked back. Still pissed I never got to use the other domains though. Story time. This is not paranormal, but it is the best place to share my story. This is a real story, and I need advice on what to do. Be me. Shipping off to the Marines in January. Wake up at 4 o'clock today to work out at 5 o'clock with my recruiter at the gym. Making a cinnamon raisin bagel with cream cheese. Decide to eat it on the way so I can buy dip. Before the bagels finish in the toaster, I look out around the window at 4:15ish. See a car in the driveway. Out-of-state plates. Delaware plates. I freeze. Minutes go by and notice I have to do something. Run out the door and the car hightails it out of my driveway. I run to my car to see if I can catch up and write down the plates. Forgot to grab my keys. Fuck. Run back indoors, wake up my dad, and tell him. He seems scared, but not enough to call the police. I have frequented the deep web when I am bored, and have always been obsessed with Hitman. Have watched YouTube videos on Hitman before bed, even to the extent where I sent messages back and forth on the deep web with supposed hitmen on what they do and how they do it. I am scared and don't know what to do. I own an AR-15, but I am not fooling myself into thinking I could fight off a threat in the night. What do I do? I have been considering posting this for about an hour now. Promised myself that if I saw this on page 1 again, I would do it, so here goes. A few years ago, before Silk Road was really even known about or heard of legitimately, a friend of mine was a pretty big dealer. He would traffic a pound or so across from Canada every month and sell godly amounts through the deep web. He had several accounts and even more connections. One night, he was driving back and had a flat tire and no spare handy, so he called me to come and pick him up. Him and his pound or so of weed. 2 fucking hours away, at 1 in the morning, when I had work in less than 7 hours. Being a friend and a roommate at the time, I picked him up. He felt really bad about the whole thing and kept offering me a few grams. But I couldn't, in case my workplace did a random drug test. After trying to give me some weed all the way home and continuously refusing, he decided to let me in on something that he had been a part of for a few months. Something kind of like a club, but I could make some extra cash from it. He scribbled down a string of letters and numbers, followed by .onion, and told me to download Tor. He also provided a password later that he had saved on his computer that was nearly impossible to remember. After work the next night, I checked it out. It seemed harmless at first, a black site with a simple chat room box like any other. The conversations were really odd to me at first, and I wasn't sure when the money factor would be involved, as my friend did not really explain much. Things like CAG, 2:45 a.m., $126, 5 cents, 1:50 a.m. SSW, 6:12 p.m., $34, 45 cents, 11:14 a.m. GOL, 1:44 a.m., $66, 12 cents, 12:23 p.m. I was pretty confused until my friend explained to me that these were stocks and maximum amounts of money and times when to invest, mostly known as pump and dump, or in another sense, insider trading, but most famously known as fraud. This was back before Google. Web pages were, for the most part, still very basic HTML with JavaScript. Hardly anyone used CSS. Only discussion boards and some banking sites had anything approaching mature front-end / back-end combinations, etc. Early net, real deep web story, not just one about illicit activities online. I was browsing random blogs, GeoCities sites, and the like, just going from link to link. Eventually, I came upon an odd page. It appeared to be random fonts from different people, but for the time, it was very well designed. The messages seemed to be cryptic in nature, like several people trying to pass secret notes. I started through the source, and hidden in the comments of a JavaScript were various IP addresses. I gathered all of the IPs in a text file and began enumerating. Some were routers with banner messages that I could telnet to, almost all at universities. Warning, this is a secure system at University of blah blah. The default Cisco credentials from back in the day worked on most of them, but I did not poke around. A few of the IPs were web servers with little to nothing on them, mostly Apache on Linux or some BSD, at least one IIS server I can recall. I finally came upon a web server with a huge directory of HTML files and TIFF images with a few smaller subdirectories containing the same. NSLOOKUP returned no reverse records for the IP. A visual route traced it far back as Colorado. The HTML files appeared to be records that a psychologist or similar mental health professional would keep. The images were of faxes, apparently of both military and medical nature. As I browsed from a subdirectory back to the parent, at the top was a new HTML file named something like 1-hello-there.html. The timestamp was from right that minute. I opened it, and in plain text was the message, "We see you." No quotes, all lowercase. About 15 seconds later, the server dropped. It is nothing special and arguably pointless without the pictures, but I am going to post it to keep the thread bumped. Member of a forum back in about 2005. Everyone is aged around 14 to 25, and we know each other in real life because we all go to the same club. It's a music forum for a really niche genre that is played locally, fewer than 20 members or further than about 30 miles away. Despite it being niche and local, it's surprisingly popular. There is a few hundred people browsing the forums at any one time. Anyway, there is non-music forums for things like just general chat, hobbies, computers, that kind of thing. Go in the computer section one day, and some member has bought a new webcam. This is 2005, so it is not Ultra HD 4K like it is now. It's the kind that are grainy and the motion is choppy. He fucks around with it to get used to it. Says he set it up in his living room to try out the camera. Not video camera, static camera function. Has some little meme on it where it takes 4 pictures, one every 0.5 seconds or so. Sets it up running. Leaves the room because his dad shouts him. Come back and it is still running. Stops it and checks the pictures. Posts them. See him at computer. Him walking out of the room. Then there is just the room on its own. You can see the door, window, and a clothes horse. Majority of the pictures are just the empty room on its own. Then on 2 of the pictures there is this shape that sort of looks like a flying fox but smaller. Totally black, with undefined, blurry edges, just hovering in the middle of the room, in front of the clothes horse. Then it is gone, and the pictures resume with him walking back in and sitting down. Asks anyone if they have any idea what it is. Tell him to get the fuck out. A couple of weeks later, he mentions he is moving and never posts again. As I said, it's shit without the pictures, but it was really bizarre. The worst part is, I had the pictures saved on an old computer, and the forum only just closed a little while ago, so now I have no chance of ever finding them again. Be like 16. On family vacation with aunt, cousin, and mother. Spending 5 days in Gettysburg. Do all the ghost tours and shit. I'm kinda into ghosts at this point. Watched a lot of ghost hunting shows, and read dumbass first account haunting books. Never actually experienced anything real and tangible. We visit the original home of Ginnie Wade. She was the only Gettysburg civilian killed directly during the Battle of Gettysburg. At this point in the trip, I have not experienced a damn paranormal thing. We're in this house learning about, like, bread and where the bullet landed. I am walking around reading the shit when suddenly, it feels like I can't breathe. My pulse grows faster, my heart's beating like crazy. Feels like a panic attack or a heart attack, but I have never suffered either before. Like I'm choking for air, but I know I'm not dying. Room starts spinning. I can't fucking see straight. I run out of the fucking house so fast. My family members are wondering what is wrong with my dumbass. Ginnie Wade was pissed at me.